The game against the Cleveland Browns? Yeah, it's still echoing in every corner of that locker room. A performance that left more questions than answers. And when your offense throws 3 interceptions, as Tua Tagovailoa did, you don't just lose a game. You lose a layer of trust. The man who calls the shots on the sideline, Mike McDaniel, didn't dance around what happened. He branded the defeat as humiliating and made sure everybody heard the alarm bells, including himself. McDaniel laid it all out. Everything's on the table. That's not coach speak for, we'll keep doing the same stuff. It's more like a flashing red light. He didn't announce immediate changes, but the thread is loud and clear. If things don't shift, somebody's job might get very uncomfortable. Let's zoom in on Tua. 3 interceptions. That's a rough night. Not just bad luck, not just hero to villain, but preventable mistakes. And McDaniel pointed that out. Losses of possession like that, they're not hidden away under learning experiences. These are game-changing fumbles of opportunity. And McDaniel said the film will show it. He's going deep into tape, hunting for the why, not just the what. And while he didn't name alternative quarterbacks, no whispers of Quinn Ewers or Zach Wilson being locked in yet, the message is plain. Nobody's safe if nothing improves. Then there's the contract angle, the backstage muscle. Tua is locked in with about $54 million, guaranteed, for 2026. That's a heavy weight, but money alone doesn't shield you in this league. The franchise is under no obligation to keep him on the field if he becomes a liability. So yeah, contract guarantees matter, but accountability matters more. The question isn't just, can he play? It's, should he play, given what happened? Next up, the Atlanta Falcons. Big-time test. Big-time moment. Will we see the old Tua, who looked sharp and confident, or the version that's scrambling, risk-averse, and handing the game back to the opponent? If it's the latter, the discussion shifts from who's the starter to what's the offense's identity? Offense, by the way. You can't just blame the quarterback. McDaniel's in his own hot zone. He was the first to say this was about responsibility, not just pointing fingers. His system, his calls, his philosophy. If the execution fails consistently, the man who draws up the plays? That pressure accumulates. He's been riding high for a while, but this moment demands something different. Strategy, urgency, clarity. Because what's on film right now? Unforced errors, misreads, timing off. And that's on the staff, coaching and players alike. In Miami, the vibe is shifting. The build it and they'll come optimism is wobbling. The patience, it's beginning to stretch thin. Repeated mistakes? They attract attention, not just from the local fans who are restless, but from across the league. Opponents do not miss when a team's cracks start showing. It's not just a bad game. It's a message. The message, performance counts. Every turnover, every blown assignment, every mental slip, they all stack up. And when you're the quarterback with big guaranteed money, or the coach who set the tone, the margin for we'll do better is wearing thin. So what happens now? Tua needs to react. Not just the next drive, but the next week. He needs to regain confidence, command the offense, limit the foolish decisions. McDaniel needs to steer the ship differently. Maybe adjust scheme. Maybe simplify things. Maybe hold people accountable. Whatever it is, it can't look like a knee-jerk panic, but it also can't look like business as usual. And for the Dolphins, they need clarity. Who are we? What do we stand for? Because right now it feels like the identity is hazy. One week you look unstoppable. Next week you're handing the ball away and giving the opponent free points. Doesn't compute. Doesn't inspire. So the Falcons' game becomes more than just a matchup. It's a statement. It's a we still got it moment or a we're falling apart signal. No in between. At least, not if the coach's words mean anything. We're watching. Tua is watching. McDaniel is watching. And the fans? They're watching too, more closely than ever. Because when everything's on the table, something's bound to roll off. And maybe that's what makes this moment so strange for Miami. This sense that everything they built is suddenly being tested from the inside. You can almost feel it in the way players walk off the field, heads low but eyes darting, trying to figure out who they're supposed to be right now. This isn't just about fixing plays or rewriting a game plan. It's about belief in themselves, in their system, in their leader under center. Because when your quarterback starts to doubt, even for a split second, it leaks into everyone else. Receivers hesitate. The offensive line tenses. The whole rhythm shivers. That's what we saw against Cleveland. Not just missed throws, but hesitation. A flicker of uncertainty that spread through the offense like static. Tua isn't new to criticism. He's been doubted since day one, questioned after every rough game, every injury, every rumor about replacements. But this one feels heavier. It's not about whether he can play. It's whether he still owns the team. Whether he commands the huddle the way a true quarterback does, when everyone's looking at him not for answers, but for certainty. McDaniel, though, he's not hiding behind cliches. When he said everything's on the table, you could sense that edge. The tone wasn't frustration. It was more like someone realizing the clock is ticking, and maybe faster than expected. Maybe he's tired of watching the same mistakes on loop. Maybe he's done protecting egos. Maybe he's finally ready to shake things up, even if it means breaking what he built. And you can almost hear the unspoken question. What if the problem isn't just execution? What if it's direction? Because sometimes the scheme looks brilliant, but the energy feels off. The timing's weird. The rhythm disappears. Miami's offense, once known for being fast and fearless, suddenly looks cautious, like a team trying not to make mistakes instead of trying to win. That's not Dolphins football. That's survival mode. And survival mode never lasts long in the NFL. The locker room's probably quieter than usual this week. Guys walking around, saying the right things, but thinking the same thought. How close are we to blowing this up? It's that silence before a big change, the kind that doesn't always come from an announcement, but from how players start looking at each other. Tua knows it too. You can see it in his face during press conferences. That tension behind the smile, the careful choice of words, the look of someone who's fighting not just the defense across the field, but the doubts within his own building. And when a quarterback starts to sense that his coach is thinking about other options, even if it's just a thought, it changes everything. Every throw feels like a test. Every mistake feels like evidence. That's why this next game against the Falcons isn't just about stats or a win. It's about narrative, about rewriting what people think of you before they decide it for you. Because once a fan base, once a locker room, once a coach believes that a quarterback's lost it, there's no going back. And the fans in Miami? They've seen enough ups and downs to smell trouble early. They're passionate, loyal, but they're not blind. They know what inconsistency looks like. They've lived through rebuilds, through false dawns, through promises that faded by November. This one hurts because it looked different. It felt like a team ready to finally step out of the shadow, until Cleveland reminded everyone that potential means nothing when execution crumbles. Now McDaniel stands at a crossroads. Does he double down on the same formula, hoping Tua rebounds? Or does he gamble, shake the structure, bring in competition, risk the chaos to maybe find clarity? And let's be honest, this is the kind of moment that defines a coach. You can talk about culture all you want, but when your team gets punched in the mouth, the way you respond tells everyone what you're made of. The Dolphins can still rise from this, but they need something real. Not slogans, not promises, a spark. Maybe that comes from Tua rediscovering that edge, the guy who once played like he didn't care about doubters. Or maybe it comes from McDaniel doing what few coaches dare, changing the narrative mid-season. Whatever happens, the sense of calm around this team is gone. Every pass, every play, every glance on the sideline feels loaded with meaning. And that's not necessarily bad. Sometimes pressure is the only thing that shakes you awake. So yeah, everything's on the table. That phrase keeps echoing. Maybe it's a threat. Maybe it's motivation. Or maybe it's a warning. Because when you put everything on the table, something, or someone, eventually gets cut.